Are you overwhelmed by the challenge of personalizing communication for thousands of students? That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. From nudging prospective students to guiding those already on their journey, AI assistants don't just automate. They write, build, and optimize every step of your digital campaigns. Discover how at element451.com/AI team. It's episode 40, like 40. We're officially middle-aged.
I agree. And this is as much of a crisis for me as it was when I turned 40 last year. No kidding.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your Monday morning energizer covering insights and trends in higher ed marketing and enrollment. I'm Mallory Wilsey, bringing over 15 years of edtech and marketing expertise to your earbuds.
And I'm Seth Odell, joining the Pulse with my own adventures from leading marketing at top universities to founding Kanahoma, one of the industry's fastest growing digital marketing agencies.
Each week, we bring you the kind of insider insights you typically only find over cocktails with your pals at a conference.
It's fast, it's fun, and it's designed for you, the busy higher ed professional.
You're not just listening to another podcast.
You're checking the pulse of higher education.
Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher ed professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.
It doesn't feel like it's been that many at all. It's amazing. Thanks for having me this long. I kept thinking I'd get booted sooner, but all right, 40 episodes in and we're doing all right.
Let's go. And it's AMA week. And if you're listening, I'm probably running around Caesar's Palace with like a glittery mimosa right now. So you heard last week, my goal is to take 50 selfies with listeners this year. So you got to come find me.
That's right. Find Mallory. We're recording this one a couple days early, a little ahead of schedule because of that, because you are there in Vegas. And if you are there, then that makes sense that we talk about why are we here in a much larger sense. So I'm so excited for this topic. It's a little bit different, listeners. We wanted to step back and talk about like why we're here as far as why we choose to stay, play, work, and give in the education space. It is an industry that I think has many different paths in. Not all of us planned to be here, but it feels very intentional why people choose to stay. And so it felt like a really good topic for us to tackle today, man. I'm really excited to talk about this.
Well, Seth, I know in the past, like not on the podcast, but in the past, we've talked about how I think we both kind of like stumbled our way into higher ed. I think that's probably true for a lot of people. But like you said, like, okay, so that's how you got there, but why do you stay? And I don't know, I'm actually kind of curious, like, have you ever thought about leaving the industry?
Well, that's a great question. I don't think you've ever asked me that.
I haven't.
I did once. So once I found my way in, I was pretty happy in this industry for a lot of reasons. Around 2014, when I started to realize I was probably going to be ready to move on from Southern New Hampshire University, I did explore moving into traditional advertising, like to an ad agency, because at the time I was producing lots of like TV commercials, and it was very much the work I was doing. I just had a hard time with the concept that like my great creative work might help sell more potato chips. And this idea that like it could be reduced to like more common consumerism. And I never got over that hurdle. And that, but that was the one time I thought about it. What about you? Have you ever thought about venturing out?
Similar to you, I did. My kind of point was right after I got my master's, and I was in LA and was kind of thinking like, all right, like I've done some really great work. I'm Stoner at the time. I'd been there for a while, and I was like, I think I'm getting ready to move on to what's next. And I did. I started applying to agencies that were outside of the higher ed space. And I had taken some classes in my master's on CPG. And so I was thinking about those opportunities. And, it's funny you mentioned the potato chips, but I too, I kind of had a moment where I sat there and I was like, I don't think I can sell Halloween candy.
Yeah.
I don't think this is my future. So no, I mean, I had the thoughts and then I kind of quickly pivoted right back to higher ed.
Yeah, same. And I think I think a lot of us probably have bumped up against that at some points, and it's always interesting to see the folks that have stayed. We've been in this industry a long time. I'm coming up on almost 20 years, and it's amazing how many folks are still around. We're coming up on like 15 years from social media, as far as like us meeting on Twitter and so many other folks that I met in the early Twitter days. And a lot of folks have left, but a lot of folks have stayed. And so let's unpack it today. I don't know about you. I have three. I brought three reasons why I'm here. I'd love to share them with you, and you share some with me.
I think I know one of them because you talk a lot about the like very rich and deep history within your family around education. So is it a safe guess that that's one of?
It is. So my number one has been like a family legacy. I've mentioned it before, but my grandfather, Robert Cadera, was a college president. He was the president of both Sacred Heart and Nazareth. And so I grew up going and seeing the gym that's named after him in Rochester, New York. Previously, he was an administrator. He came up, interestingly, in marketing and communications and alumni at Marquette and Cornell and Fordham. He was really one of the first presidents.
So rare.
Yeah, so it was very rare to be an early president that had a marketing comms background, which is now today actually a little more common, but at the time, very unusual. But my other grandfather was the chair of the English department at SUNY Albany, obviously where I grew up. He was just amazing, Dan. My grandmother actually built one of the first adult advising divisions in the 1980s at Sage in the capital region, which is, at the time, night college was not really a major focus, and having a whole academic advising division was very unusual. And then my other grandmother was a fifth grade teacher, and would tell stories at the dinner table about desegregating the spelling bee and her job being in jeopardy because of it. And then I think I mentioned before to you, my mother also taught junior college growing up. And so, collectively, there was always this common theme that like education is the great equalizer. I will say I grew up a little bit of I don't want to say black sheep of the family. That's probably too broad of a statement. But I had some run-ins with the law. I barely made it out of high school, barely made it out of college. I was a late bloomer is maybe the polite way to put it. And so I always felt, I have lots of cousins. I always felt like the least, air quotes, successful of everybody else that maybe went to like Ivy League schools or much more prestigious colleges and had different paths. So it's funny sometimes how I found my way here. And I'm the one that is, working in this industry because I think it was much more of a winding path, but a family legacy for sure. The lessons were ingrained in me early as a kid that access to opportunity for students through education is huge, that no one can take your education away from you. And like the power of it overall was definitely like fodder at the dinner table. And so there is totally a personal sense of pride in continuing in a very small way as a marketer, the legacy that my family has had in education.
That's amazing. So I think kind of along those lines, as I reflected on this topic for today, I realized that I've always had a strong sense of purpose and mission around providing access to education and promoting social mobility. And that really comes from my youth and my upbringing. So I grew up in northern New York, a very economically depressed area. Less than 25% of the graduates of my high school went on to even a 2 or 4 year college.
Wow. I didn't
not just
realize
4, but it's so, and they're graduating like maybe 40 kids in a class. So these are very small numbers. And I remember being, very aware as I was growing up that my parents were trying their hardest to expose me to things outside of the town I grew up in and ensuring that the arts and culture and travel and all those things and education would play a role in my life and allow me to move upwards, in that social mobility aspect as well and reach my potential. And certainly, and in hindsight, I'm so grateful for where I grew up and the values that were instilled in me and growing up on a dairy farm and all of that. But access to education for even still today, students in that area it's really tough. And I think as I worked on a campus and got to see similar students actually walk across that stage at graduation, knowing you played a part in that journey, just there was no better feeling than that. And then I feel as I've gone on to work in agency and ed tech, it's I get a lot of value professionally out of knowing that now the things that I'm doing can impact that at scale.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That actually hits my number 2, which was like outcome and impact. And I feel the same way. On the outcome side, I'm still here in a lot of ways because of like graduation, right? Just being able to watch and experience that. And I've been able to go to graduation at more than a dozen institutions. It's so incredible. And to see, the impact it has on a family is really profound. And over the course of my career, I've done a lot of marketing campaigns, which have involved a lot of casting. So I've like personally talked to literally thousands of students, and I've featured hundreds of them in campaigns. And so I'm still like Facebook friends with students from different institutions, and to be able to see the impact it's had to their families makes it very tangible. So we're an industry where you can like really see and experience the impact, at least at graduation. And if you stay in touch with grads, you can see it for years after. On the impact side too, I'll also say I have felt like I can see the professional impact that I get to have. So I've seen that at the institutions I've worked at, and then, now running an agency, I'm able to see the growth that we can help drive at partners institutions. And so sometimes I think some careers you do work and it just sort of like goes out into ether and you don't always see the impact. I feel very connected to the impact of my own work. And it's the relationship between those two things, I think, the overall outcome for students and my ability to have an impact on that's really like kept me emotionally tied to the work here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like higher ed is tackling real problems, right? Like real problems,
Yeah.
and impacting people's lives and futures in incredibly meaningful ways, and that puts the stakes really high. Like, and the ability to solve these problems, it just requires constant creativity and, big picture thinking and resilience, which we just talked about last week.
Yeah.
It's like we were saying a few minutes ago, like we aren't selling potato chips and Halloween candy here. Like, not that I don't love those two things,
Totally.
but, like it feels like the decisions we are making, and I say like we as in the collective we here, like whether it's your admission strategy or the student success initiative that allows you to be more proactive and impact an at-risk student faster, like these have incredible long-term consequences on people's futures and like frankly the future of our country.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's like at a really like big scale, like I have enjoyed feeling this sense of purpose around being able to solution around some of these things.
Completely. We only get like one opportunity in life at a macro view to apply our time and talent. So within that, we can break it up into different chapters of our career with different employers. But I do think I look back and think, I chose a really important segment to apply my time and talents, and I'm grateful for that. Okay, my third and final reason why I'm still here, almost 20 years in, have not left the higher ed industry, I would say it's the access to opportunity provided to me. So we talked a lot about the bigger reason is the access to opportunity education provides to students. When I look back on my career, I have been provided so many opportunities in this space that I don't know would come from all other industries. So, I have access to incredible people. So even all the way back to my early days at UCLA, where I was, really still pretty fresh in my career, I had a chance to do sit-down interviews with, Jared Diamond or Coach John Wooden, General Wesley Clark. Like I have gotten to meet incredible people, sit in on awesome lectures, engage with just brilliant faculty. That has been so cool to have access to these incredible minds. And then on a professional level for me personally, in particular, the production work I've gotten to do has kept me here. I've been doing commercials now for, at this point, 13 years. I've been doing television commercials and large scale shoots. And I've gotten to, twice I drove a bus across the country for 45 plus days, a tour bus, and got to deliver diplomas to students. I got to do voiceovers on national TV campaigns. I got to shoot sunrise at the Bonneville Salt Flats because I just thought it would make an awesome opening shot to a campaign. I built an entire crane on the floor of a giant arena for a graduation stadium. So for me, there's also I love all the work I get to do, but the performance marketing work is very much behind a screen. The production work has gotten me out into the world where I think I've shot in over 30 states. It's just been incredible. So those, for me, the access to opportunity I've been provided has just really scratched a curiosity itch that's been super fun and continues to be with the work that I get to do.
That's amazing. Well, my last one, I feel like I'm an innovation chaser in an industry that's not known for innovation.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of gratification that comes from knowing that you've helped push institutions and individuals to innovate. And I think that, as an innovation chaser, I'm not just reacting to trends. I'm kind of actively helping higher ed professionals figure out what the future of higher ed can look like. And I'm certainly not like saying I do this by myself by any means, but like the employers that I've chosen to work for have been very intentional because I think that they're really, in all cases, helping move the needle forward really quickly. And, and we're in this shrinking industry, and it forces those of us who do love innovation to become very resourceful, very creative. And that makes the work that much more rewarding because problem solving is hard and disruptive solutions are coming in, and there's just a lot of untapped potential. And I get so energized, even sometimes when it feels like, you're swimming upstream, but I get really energized by that challenge. And the challenge isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So it's going to keep me here for a long time.
I agree. And I think when we think about staying here, one of the last things I would say about why, you know me, I always have an extra bonus one. There is a bonus one that fits this week with you at AMA so perfectly, which is the people. The folks I've gotten to meet in this industry have been incredible. Our friendship has mattered a lot to me in my life, and it's been really wonderful. We've been friends for, over a third of my life, and it's been great. And there's so many people who've had a big impact on my life. I got texts yesterday from 3 different folks that I haven't worked with in a long time. And, I do think work-life balance is super important. We obviously talked about that more recently in our resilience episode, but there's also a reality that when you can bring as much of your whole self to work as possible, that's great too. And so to me, we're an industry that really seems to be welcoming and celebrating of people bringing more of themselves. And especially in the marketing and enrollment space that we get to operate in, it's just so collaborative. I mean, even getting to do this podcast with you, engaging with folks that listen, staying in touch with folks online. There are so many folks that are IRL friends that came from this industry. And I think that bleeds across all my reasons probably. It's hard to leave family. And that's what this sometimes feels like.
I was hoping we would end it there because it's so true. And like we said, we were recording this one a few days in advance, but I know Monday morning Mallory is standing in Caesar's Palace feeling all the feels because these are my people. And whether it's, our long-term friendship or I was in LA a month ago with some higher ed pals and we happened to stumble into a tattoo and piercing shop. And I won't tell you what we all walked out with, but we all walked out with something. And it's where else can you find this type of camaraderie and friendship? And I truly hope that our listeners feel that too. And I mean, gosh, Seth and I are here. I'm physically here in Vegas, but we are here. We are here and we want to help build that sense of camaraderie with y'all. So
totally. I'll just end with this. There's a lot of reasons why we're here. If you're listening, we'd love to hear them on LinkedIn. But most importantly, just know that we're grateful that you are. That to me, I think is the message to hear. And just, thank you as always for listening. Just always love the community here. And this has been such a blast. And to episode 40, it's an exciting milestone to make.
And Seth, we've been on this 4-week challenge. We've gotten under 17 minutes this time.
All right. Okay. We are getting there. And if you run that at 1.5 speed, we're definitely under 15 minutes. So I'm going to call that a win.
A win. All right, friends. Come find me in Vegas. We got to take those selfies. And then until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.